If you're right, so many people are wrong.
Everyone's wrong. The universe backs me up. You have all these physicists that's saying something different. None of them have introduced a new form of flight.
Has he introduced a new form of flight?
With unlimited mid-air bonding. None of them have discovered 4 supersymmetrical systems. This is what the collective is able to do when you put yourself into the divine space.
Hearing stuff like this is so scary to me.
There's no government on this planet that has the technology that I have or can outdo what I have.
If you can't hear him speak and pick out that he sounds delusional, that should be a massive red flag for you. Is this guy like a famous actor? Is that what he's known for initially? He is, right? Oh, he was. Oh, the Iron Man guy, true, okay. Does it ever bother you when they change actors so deliberately and they just don't say anything about it in universe? Why didn't they just get a different guy? Why didn't they just like make him a different character? It was seamless in Iron Man. They're not even the same shade of black. What are you talking about? Bro, we went from a caramel chocolatey, chocolate ice cream cone type black man to a straight pure black. No shot. It wasn't even close. These were completely different.
Thing just appeared out of nowhere. How?
We went from this to, oh my God. Stop 60 FPS upscaling videos. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look better. It's not an improvement. Stop doing this. It's stupid. Please stop doing this. God, it is so trash, garbage. Stop. If you have to do anything with a video ever that involves the word interpolation, don't do it. If the frame's not there, the frame's not there. Please, God, stop. Oh, there he is. No, he's actually, you know what? Man. No, he's significantly blacker. Okay, but in this, it's a dark scene. You can't tell, okay? It's different here. Don't take my word for it here. We're aborting this line of dialogue. You're right. Here's them together. Don't get gaslit. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I was right. Thank you. At Pure Cinema. I don't know how it's cinema, but there was this one, and then there was the Game of Thrones swap, where the most egregious, especially because in Game of Thrones there's so many characters, I didn't even know for like 10 episodes if these were supposed to be the same person. I was like, oh, okay.
Because you know how I figured it out? What's 1 times 1?
1 times 1 is 1.
I'm talking about for Dario. People who bring up the mountain are dumb. He turned into a zombie. Who cares?
To multiply means to do what? To make more, right?
Yes.
Increase in number?
Yes.
Multiply?
Yes.
How can 1 times 1 equaling 1 be part of the multiplication table? It fails to satisfy the term multiply. It doesn't multiply. Does it? What's an action times an action?
You got some weed.
No, I'm asking you. Honestly, I'm asking you. Reason.
What are we doing here?
Wait, this isn't the one that all the dipshits in my chat were screaming at me to go to review a few weeks ago, was it? Because this is 7 months old, no?
Reason. I want you to reason.
I don't know.
What's an action times an action? A reaction. Right?
Okay.
Have you ever seen an action times an action without a reaction? Have you? No. Because equanimity is the currency of the universe. There's always an action times an action having a reaction. So how can 1 times 1 equal 1? How can...
Terrence Howard is like a legitimate genius. Like he's like...
Is it this?
Everything, all motion is expressed in waves. All waves are expressed in curves. It always makes spirals.
So because of the concept of gravity, and because of the concept of this event horizon, this super point of gravity, this infinite point that light can't even escape, that this exists because of the theory of gravity.
And their math. Remember,
Yeah.
They have a thing called zero. They go from 1 to 0 to -1. There is no zero to even think zero.
So do you think that zero is a concept that came along with currency?
it should be attached to currency in that regard, because in physics, it's either nothing remains still. There's nothing still in the universe. There's nothing that doesn't have motion because everything is connected. So if one thing is still, everything that's connected to it has to be still. There can never be one thing still. So as electricity tries to get to its balanced state, right when it gets there, magnetism takes over and it pushes over. So there's this pendulum.
Oh God, this is going to be some schizo shit. I think what he's saying here is technically kind of true, that nothing in the universe is still, although I don't know at what level he's talking about, because technically if there were absolutely no movements subatomically or anything, you would have like absolute zero, which implies a complete and total lack of movement like everywhere, right? Although I don't know if that actually is only classically in physics or if that manifests in quantum mechanics as well. I'm curious. Okay, let's look. Let's read. Absolute zero is the lowest limit of the thermodynamic temperature scale, a state at which the enthalpy and entropy of a cooled ideal gas reach their minimum value, taken as 0 Kelvin. And an ideal gas is a theoretical gas composed of many randomly moving point particles that are not subject to interparticle interactions. I feel like in chemistry I learned something called the ideal gas law. What was that about? I don't remember though. The fundamental particles of nature have minimum vibrational motion, retaining only quantum mechanical 0-point energy-induced particle motion. What is 0-point energy? Is the lowest possible energy that a quantum mechanical system may have. Unlike in classical mechanics, quantum systems constantly fluctuate in their lowest energy state as described by the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Therefore, even at absolute zero, atoms and molecules retain some vibrational motion. Oh, okay. So I wasn't sure if the absolute zero thing was just classical and not related or not, doesn't go that deep. So I guess, so in a classical mechanically understood system, even at absolute zero, for quantum mechanics, you would say that atoms and molecules still retain some kind of vibrational motion, I guess. But maybe the overall sum of the energy comes out to be zero in a classical system or something. Apart from atoms and molecules, the empty space of the vacuum also has these properties. According to quantum field theory, the universe can be thought of not as isolated particles, but continuous fluctuating fields, matter fields whose quanta and fermions, i.e. leptons and quarks, and force fields whose quanta are bosons, right? Photons and gluons. Jesus. All these fields have 0-point energy. These fluctuating 0-point fields lead to a kind of reintroduction of an ether in physics, since some systems can detect the existence of this energy. However, this ether cannot be thought of as a physical medium if it is to be Lorentz invariant, such that there is no contradiction with Einstein's theory of special relativity. There might be 10 different things in this one paragraph that I do not understand. Holy shit. By international agreement, absolute zero is taken as negative 273.15 degrees on the Celsius scale, which equals negative 459.67 degrees on the Fahrenheit scale. The corresponding Kelvin and Rankine temperature scales set their 0 point at absolute zero by definition. I've never heard of Rankine. I've never heard of this scale in my life. It is commonly thought of as the lowest possible temperature, or lowest temperature possible, but it is not the lowest enthalpy state possible, because all real substances begin to depart from the ideal gas when cooled as they approach the change of state to liquid and then to solid, and the sum of the enthalpy of vaporization, gas to liquid, and enthalpy of fusion, liquid to solid, exceeds the ideal gas's change in enthalpy to absolute zero. In the quantum mechanical description, matter at absolute zero is in its ground state, the point of lowest internal energy. The laws of thermodynamics indicate that absolute zero cannot be reached using only thermodynamic means, because the temperature of the substance being cooled approaches the temperature of the cooling agent asymptotically. Even a system at absolute zero, if it could somehow be achieved, would still possess quantum mechanical 0-point energy. The energy of its ground state at absolute zero, the kinetic energy of the ground state, cannot be removed. Scientists and technologists, that's a word, routinely achieve temperatures close to absolute zero where matter exhibits quantum effects such as Bose-Einstein condensate, superconductivity, and superfluidity.
Right when it gets there, magnetism takes over and it pushes over. So there's this pendulum. And as soon as it gets to this state, it bounces off that other noble gas and it makes its way all the way back over here and it's about to have equanimity. And then it takes over and it pushes over. So there's this pendulum. And as soon as it gets to this state, it bounces off that other noble gas and it makes its way all the way back over here and it's about to have equanimity. And then it gets pulled back into the other direction. And that's the breathing in and breathing out and the pendulum effect that we've all observed in natural phenomena. phenomena in the universe.
And that's a part of everything.
Everything behaves that way. Every one of our cells comes down to our cells are made up of water, mostly water, 80%, 90% water somewhere. Water is hydrogen. Hydrogen has 12 vortices. That's behaving with it. 12.
Wait, I'm actually curious. I've never actually questioned that before. When people say that humans are made up of like 80%, 70% water, what does that actually mean? It's not actually like H2O, is it? Are they talking about like the complicated like polycarbon chains that have H2O in it, or do they mean like just like straight out water? When they say that the human body is made of 70% water, do they mean actual H2O water, or does liquid in general? They mean actual water. Think of soda, it's predominantly water, right? However, it's got plenty of stuff dissolved in it. Cells are, and this is simplifying a lot, basically water balloons filled with soda. You've got a membrane, which keeps all of the soda in. The soda is mostly water, with the proteins and stuff your body needs dissolved into it. Oh, so like the inside of a cell, like the cytoplasm of a cell is mainly just water with other stuff floating in it. In cell biology, the cytoplasm describes all material within a eukaryotic cell enclosed by the cell membrane. Does this just mean that it has a membrane? Is that the difference? Eukaryotes constitute the domain of organisms whose cells have a membrane-bound nucleus. Oh, okay. So their DNA doesn't just float like a crazy guy all around the cell. Enclosed by the cell membrane, except for the cell nucleus. The material inside the nucleus and contained within the nuclear membrane is termed the nucleoplasm. The main components of the cytoplasm are the cytosol, a gel-like substance, the organelles, the cell's internal substructures, and various cytoplasmic inclusions. The cytoplasm is about 80% water and is usually colorless. Oh, okay. So that's like, and that would be the majority of our bodies, so. When researching into things, do you begin to have a lot of respect for these people who have conceptualized these phenomenon? It is one thing to read, study, and learn these concepts, but at one point they never even existed. Yeah, it's kind of cute. Like the germ theory of cells. Wait.
Opposing hydrogen has 12 vortices. That's behaving with it. 12 opposing vortices.
So what, in your model, what happens to these suns when they supernova?
Everything gets old and die.
Everything gets old and die. And does everything recompress?
Has to. And you breathe out, what happens to that air? Another plant breathes that air in.
So would this be the universe itself? Would it be galaxies? Would it be...
Everything behaves the same way.
So as the sun expands and projects and ejects particles, they expand, they go further and further from the sun, and at a certain point, they come back.
Well, at a certain point, what do they hit? There's other expanding stars and
so like waves colliding.
yes,
And
from
retreating.
the other star systems. They have an expanding, what is the thing, the solar wind. They have expanding solar winds. So
As you said, anything you know to be false. No, I don't technically think he has, but keep in mind that like as you go up and up and up and up in physics, like there's a quote from, I don't know if it's a professor of physics or whatever, that like technically everything you learn in school is a lie. They just lie to you a little bit less. Or something like every model you learn is a lie. It just makes useful predictions. You learn things, and as you learn more and more and more and more, you get closer to our actual understanding, but things get more complicated. That's all I can say. I'm not like ultra grounded in physics. I only took honors physics. I don't even think I took AP physics, okay? I took honors physics, so I don't have the, or did I take honors chemistry? No, I might have taken AP physics, and I took honors chemistry. I don't remember. I don't remember anything that I learned in school. No, I think I took honors chemistry because I hated chemistry, but physics was just math. Appreciate the answer. Oh yeah, I don't know. Don't ask me. Don't ask me anything. I couldn't even do calculus anymore. I might be able to do most of algebra. As you get further and further, especially into science, you learn things like, do two things actually touch? Well, yes, well, no, well, yes, well, no. Well, it depends on what you define as touching. It depends on what you define as things. It depends on the fields you're talking about. Like, what is gravity? Is gravity a force? Is gravity just a consequence of, like you'll hear, for instance, like all matter attracts all other matter. Is that technically true? I don't actually know if that's technically true. I know that according to Einstein, all matter curves space-time, and all curved space-time has an impact on all other matter. So, like, does matter attract matter? I mean, is attraction even a real thing, or is it just a consequence of curves? I don't know. I'm just saying that, like, yeah. I don't know enough physics to say this guy's completely fucking wrong on this. I don't know if he knows enough physics to make the claims he's making, so I'm just listening, okay? Jesus.
So like waves collide.
Sure, but this guy's abstracting his explanation to the point of not saying anything. He might be, yeah, but I don't think I have the background to say like, oh, this guy is totally wrong. What is a vector? Bro, I don't remember anything. Isn't a vector... I want to say it's like a vector always has two components, right? It's a direction and a magnitude? Or is that just velocity? Is a direction and a magnitude? I don't remember. It's been too long. It's been too long. I don't remember. I don't know anything. Don't ask me any of these questions.
Yes,
And
from the
retreat.
other star systems, they have an expanding. What is the the solar wind? They have expanding solar winds. So when they meet, our star meets the solar wind from another star at that end of that spot. Now there's two pressure conditions. So you have another Lagrange spot that's happening there. That's when those waves start coming back, but they get hit, and if they hit at 120 degrees, because that's how the universe is arranged, now these things become electric. So they, instead of coming from the planar side and expanding out at the equator, they now come back up from the northern and southern parts.
So does this account for stellar nurseries?
Yes. All of these things are just pressure conditions hitting each other. And they're causing that. That's where the Birkeland currents are running through, those higher electrical fields. But everything in the universe is just electricity. And we call it magnetism when it's devitalized, but it's still electricity. We call the radiative side, it's the feminine side. And the contractive side is the positive, masculine side. It's a balance, and it's never been anything but that balance, and we've complicated it with a lie.
If you're right, so many people are wrong.
Everyone's wrong. Oh, well, the universe backs me up, and I have the proof of it. You have all these physicists that's saying something different, but none of them have 97 patents. None of them have introduced a new form of flight.
But does he have 97 patents, and has he introduced a new form of flight?
With unlimited midair bonding. None of them have discovered 4 supersymmetrical systems. This is what we've done. This is what the collective is able to do when you put yourself into the divine space. Because that spirit is waiting. It's just like, okay, are you going to make yourself available for it?
Also, I will say, just in my personal experience with people that I believe are schizophrenic, oftentimes in my very limited, very anecdotal, very personal experience, this is what a schizophrenic person will sound like. People think that schizophrenics are just crazy, saying crazy, wild and wacky things, but I don't, in my personal experience of getting emails from and reading how schizophrenics seem to type, they actually, if you're not listening too closely, and then even if you listen kind of closely, they sound like they know what they're talking about. They're usually referring to a lot of real things. They're using real words. The grammar is there. It's not just wacky, random, and wild things, but like the connections and stuff that their brains are making, if you dig into it a little bit more, is like, okay, none of this is actually making sense. I don't know if that's a particular type of schizophrenic or if all schizophrenics sound like that, or not, just going by like emails that I've gotten from people that are clearly like bothered. It could be schizoaffective. Oh, maybe. I don't know the difference. I don't know the difference between those two. I'd have to look it up again. Maybe.
So let me ask you this: if I had a magic wand and I allowed you to not just show this, but allowed all of these people that have these opposing ideas, you debate them, you duke it out, you emerge victorious, okay? With this magic wand, and now people go, just listen to Terrance.
You should just watch the Neil deGrasse Tyson video. It responds in detail to a lot of his claims. I'll watch it after this. Chill.
What do we do?
Well, then we write new axioms and new postulates based off the real wave conjugations. Now we adjust our understanding of our physics to fit natural phenomena. And then we are in balance with it, and we have...
Bro, hearing stuff like this is so scary to me. I did drugs. I did too many drugs. No, not too many drugs. I think a few months ago, I had like 2 back-to-back experiences where I got too high, because everything I do makes me too high, and my brain was breaking a little bit for a while. This idea of like being this detached from reality is so fucking scary. my God, I don't think you can perceive it, because you have to keep in mind that your entire perception of reality is entirely constructed in your brain, right? You really have no way to become familiar with anything in the external world aside from what your brain tells you. And if your brain is lying to you, or if you're delusional in some way, you're just totally cut off from the entire world. And this type of thing is just like terrifying to me, especially because this is like an ordinary human being who is an actor, successful, or whatever else. Like, now this might not be like mental illness. Maybe he just saw some stupid videos and he's like a little bit too high on his own supply here or something, like that. But do you have an example of a streamer you've interacted on stream with that is schizophrenic? I think there've been a couple. Somebody brought up Glebe. I think he wasn't he?
And I've never been to New York, but I know what goes on in New York. Like,
Do you think
the
that
Big Five.
talking about? Oh, I think I'm trying to debate him out of his like schizophrenia. It doesn't work this way. I was too young to understand this. New York right now, do you think that's relevant to this conversation or the question I just asked you?
Because one of those earlier concubines we mentioned was not regarding her ethnicity, but
Wait, so is talking about this? I'm just trying to this is dumb. This is stupid. I'm trying to make sense of this like logically. I haven't done enough drugs yet. Was this 3 years ago? The Glebe guy from League of Legends, I'm pretty sure was like schizophrenic. Glink, I don't know if Glink is or not. Maybe. Oh, 2018. So 6 years ago.
Have to let go of the idea of this currency. We're the only creatures in the known universe that uses currency, that uses an indirect form of payment instead of a direct exchange. We have to get past that point, and that's the hard thing, because this entire world is run on that, and that's where the 1 × 1 = 2 came into its real birth.
Well, the thing about currency is it's connected to technological innovation because of this unlimited potential for growth. And when you have an unlimited potential for growth, you have people that are extremely motivated to make massive amounts of money, and they innovate in a very high way. And then they also implement that innovation in the form of technology.
But their technology is antiquated compared to mine. There's no government on this planet that has the technology that I have or can outdo what I have, because you can't outdo the fractal.
This guy has access to actual physicists. He's famous. There's something wrong with people who can just disagree with the most educated people and informed people with so little reason, even when it's explained to him. What sucks is we say the same about actual geniuses. This guy isn't one. Maybe. But the difference is, if you find yourself disagreeing with a lot of people, then that should always be a cause for concern, because you're saying that you're right while a lot of other people are wrong. You need to have ways to fact check your beliefs to make sure that you're not getting lost down some schizo hole. I have to do this a lot when I'm debating people, obviously, because I'm standing in opposition to a whole mass of people sometimes, so I have to find ways to check myself to make sure, like, well, hold on, am I actually correct? And Finkelstein, the esteemed scholar of 40 years, is he actually right? You have to have ways to like check yourself here, yeah?
How many people have you... I know you spoke at Oxford about this, but you didn't speak...
Yeah, they didn't. Oxford did something that broke my heart. 5 minutes before the presentation, they wouldn't allow me to have a screen and show my proof.
Why?
Oh, their computer was down. And I was like, well, you can use my computer. No, we have sensitive things attached to it. I just need the projector. I don't need anything else. Because they didn't want me to go and talk about this. And that's why I went out there and said, hey, pull out your calculator.
Do you think you might have a harsher, less empathetic view of people because of your use of terms like schizo, retard, etc.? The hard left hates that shit. I don't know how to make people understand when I'm being serious, when I'm just like insulting somebody. I usually specify it every time. I don't think I'm not using the term schizophrenic or anything here to like as an insult. I'm not saying like, oh, he's retarded. I'm saying that I genuinely believe that he might have like delusions in his mind. Not delusions like he's wrong, LOL, but like a delusion insofar as he has some fixed belief that doesn't change based on the external universe, like an actual fixed delusion that is not changing. I'm not just saying like, oh, this guy's schizo, he's on schizo. I'm saying that like it seems like there might be an issue here because he's exhibiting patterns of thought that I feel like I've seen from other people that I'm pretty sure are either schizophrenic or have schizoaffective or whatever. There's like I don't know if I could emulate it, but there's a pattern of why could he not just be an idiot with an inflated ego? From my perception, there's like a pattern of speaking where it's like you're intelligent, so you're speaking and it sounds like you have a high IQ, verbal IQ. You're speaking decently intelligently about pretty sophisticated topics. They're all connected in some way. However, they're also connected in a way that is not only explaining some scientific thing, but you've also related it to either your life or the universe or some fundamental pattern or substance or substructure, whatever the universe is. Well, so like for example, like I don't think I can emulate it, but this would be like what I would expect kind of like a schizophrenic person to email me. They might say something like, hello, Destiny. I've been studying architecture for quite a while. I work in building construction. One of the things that I've noticed that's very fascinating to me is there are new forms of molecularized ionized concrete substrate that we emblazon into the subatomic infrastructure of the city of New York. I've been talking to a lot of commissioners and planners, and one of the things I've noticed is that the teleologically radiated sub-design energy from this seems to have an impact on the sub-neurotransmittal network of a human being. And I think this is why everybody in this city is so upset these days. It'll be like grammatically what they're saying makes sense. And like every word, if you look it up, kind of makes sense and kind of relates, but they always have like some bizarre way to connect some physical phenomenon and then explain it in a really crazy way and then relate that to some other thing in the universe that like connects all of us or explains some deep problem that is either real or imagined. That's what it feels like when I'm reading certain emails. Like I have some people that email me and I think that they're faking it because every time I talk about this, some retard will try to like email me like, oh, I'm schizophrenic. But then when I read it, it's like, I think you're just like some retard faking it. And there are other people where they email me like, this guy I think has issues. But yeah, I didn't read this one close enough to see if this guy's full of shit. This guy emailed me and he said, could you please interview me about this non-human intelligence or AI on your podcast? They also do this thing where a lot of them seem to type where they randomly put things in caps or bold font. I don't know why, if that's like a thing that schizos do, or schizophrenic people, or I challenge any human being on the planet to publicly debate with me about this NHI or DSI if they think I'm crazy. I'm positive the public and scientific community will be shocked and thrilled with my contribution of knowledge and experience of NHI or DSI, which will expedite understanding UFO/UAP/ALI phenomena and interdimensional beings or man-made sentient AI. I sincerely hope you take me seriously and publish a report. I don't have any mental problems. My unique gifts make me appear delusional to the entire human species. You see the video I provided as much evidence as possible to prove the existence of the NHI or DSI or AIL, alien intelligence, or artificial intelligence with alien-like intelligence. I also have, there's people, I feel like, I don't know if these people get on medication or off medication, but there's a person that emails me a lot and a bunch of other streamers together. I think it's Kimmy Stalker. And every now and then it feels like they have like moments of lucidity and that they realize, so like the title for this guy's email is, not this guy, this is a different guy now. I wish one of you told me I was crazy. I needed a reality check and now it's too late. At least read my apology. But my guess is, I don't even know if I've read this full email. He's going to be crazy again by the end of the email, but let's check. Please have mercy on my wary mind. I'm blank blank on Instagram. I realize spirits aren't real now or were messing with me. Caught them in a huge lie. I wish that any of you, many people I tried to ask for sanity would have helped. I just needed someone to tell me I was crazy. I'm trying to fight all of this. I know the risks, but none of you had any humanity. I do know you and Iman saw me. I know Arya saw me. I know those for certain because of emails I sent and public things I did. Why didn't anyone save me? I spent 21 months of my life on a delusion that's left me fucked up mentally. I tried medication for schizoaffective and it didn't work. None of you will tell me anything, not even now. I know you check your messages, Steven. Oh, he does know he emails me. I'm on an email list with like 100 other people here. I didn't even know he knew who I was. Just tell me I'm crazy, please. I need to hear it to fight this. I don't want to be crazy. I've never wanted to be crazy. I said so from the beginning. I'm sorry if I scared anyone. I'm sorry for any stress I caused. I'm sorry for being annoying, but I just needed the truth so I could fight this, so I could stop this. I don't have it. If you don't have it in you to not leave me on read, just have the mercy to tell me I'm insane. I wish the worst. However, I think this guy's emailed me more recently with, I think he started to create videos now. Let me see if I can find this. The emails he sends are so long. It's so much typing. He must spend like almost all of his days. Oh, he's talking to me a lot more in this. I usually just archive these as crazy emails. We want to read it? No, it's not even exciting. It's not. Like, here's like an excerpt from this email. Kimmy, this garbage isn't going to go anywhere good for you or anyone else screwing around with me like this. Anything ever being communicated in contradiction with my clearly established position in this message chain is a lie, and I'm saying this extremely clear to you right here and now. These are capsed and bolded things. You have absolutely zero objectively valid good reason to refrain from compliance by using some garbage excuse of some supposed misunderstanding over things, and then in all caps, that are obviously false about me since they are so grossly in contradiction with the reality of my character that it objectively makes zero sense to believe them. Any claims or implications being made attempting to point to otherwise being the case for any reason under any circumstances at any point in time are blatant, unapologetic, vicious, psychotic, unhinged, suicidal attempts at character assassination towards me, moving forward by anyone doing them, whether it's you or anyone else. If you make an enemy out of me, that's going to be because you had absolutely unconditional, unrestrained, malicious intent. It's just like, hold on, let me, like if I copy this, I'm just curious how many words or characters this is. So copy. Word count. Word counter. Like this email that he sent was 12,514 words. He sends these emails like maybe every few days, like of this length basically. He's been doing this for years. Are there any periods ever? Yeah, the prose is fine. It's written fine. Oh, wait. Who's... Rock Puppy 69. He sends them to like 100 people in giant email chains. Yes. Wait, do you know who this is? I get emails from this guy. I swear on my life I get all these emails. Yeah. He CCs and BCCs like 100 plus people. Like every big streamer, I think, gets these emails. And maybe random people too, yeah. Some of these emails I save are just funny ideas. Some guy emails me. Did I ever read this on stream? $1 million movie idea. And the email says, The Mask, but Jim Carrey is a terminally online Twitter leftist, and when he puts on the mask, he turns into blackface. What do you think? That's a Kino movie idea. Have you known anyone in real life with schizophrenia? Just that one guy that I met on Ice Poseidon stream. I feel like he might have been, or schizoaffective or something, maybe.
Walk through this, where the square root of 2 cubed is the same value as the square root of 2 times 2.
Okay, so what is he saying here? Hold on.
Is the same of 2. I was like, let's walk through this, where the square root of 2 cubed is the same value as the square root of 2 times 2.
Okay, the square root of 2 cubed is the same value as the square root of 2, that thing, and then times separately 2. Okay. Speaking these is very problematic. Writing these down makes it much simpler. Okay, I understand what he's saying. What he just said there is true. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay, that is true.
And then when you divide it by 2 and cube it again, you get back to you take the square root of 2, 1.414213562373095. You cube it, it's 2.828427121746190. Divide it by 2, it gets back to 1.414. Cube it again, it's back to 2.828. Divide it by 2, back to 1.414. Here we're taking 1, 2, 3 big steps. We're dividing it by 2, and we get back to the same value as we had in the very beginning. That's a loop. That's x cubed being equal to 2x, which is equal to x plus x. That's an unnatural equation. And every quantum mechanics and quantum physics equation has that square root of 2 in there. We've been living in this lie, this fostered lie.
I don't know enough math theory to debunk it, but when you're working with like the numbers like 0, 1, and 2, like these are numbers with like pretty special properties. So I don't know how relevant it is to point out that weird things happen with these 2 to 3 numbers. I don't know if like anything meaningful is being said here, but like I said, I never majored in math or anything. What he's saying is true of any real number. Is it? It might be. Maybe what he's saying would apply truthfully to any real number. I'm not sure. I don't know.
For so long.
And what's the solution to that?
The solution is learning how to multiply volumetrically, how the universe multiplies. And I've already produced all of these things.
Could you explain that though to the layperson? How does the universe multiply volumetrically as opposed to the way
it does not move? Does it linearly? It does not walk on. All of our math is based upon a 2-dimensional projection. What they do in calculus, they will reduce one act. the action of all things. They'll keep trying to reduce it down to one moment because they believe Newton's first law that everything moves in a straight line, or everything is still until acted upon. They forget that everything is in motion, and that concert of motion.
It's so weird because like the things that he's saying, like depending on how abstract you make it, are like kind of true. Isn't like if you think of calc 1, wasn't calc 1 basically the way that we started with derivation was the idea of trying to infinitely reduce down the difference between 2 points to calculate an instantaneous rate of change? Isn't that technically where derivatives came from? Was trying to find instantaneous rates of change and then to be able to calculate that over an entire function, I think. But also like I don't know if he's saying anything meaningful here. It's just like it's kind of true, but like
moves in a straight line, or everything.
He has an above average understanding of maths and science. He's not a schizo layman. Well, the way to find out if somebody has, this is going to be really mean and gatekeepy, but the way to find out if somebody has an actual understanding of it is like, oh, okay, wait. Before you tell me how you've solved like all of mathematics and everything, can I give you like a function to evaluate? Or like, can you show me how you would calculate like the derivation or the integration of like this particular function? Or like, or working through like multivariate problems or like more complicated shit. Or like, could you like, you should actually have them like work through a problem and explain what's happening. That would show you if the person has like an on the ground, like applied grasp of the things they're talking about. Because a lot of people can just read words and know parts of like a theory, right? Like I have a lot of things in my head about like QM stuff. But if you were to have me sit down and like, oh, okay, that's you think you know quantum mechanics? Well, here's like a 101 intro to QM problem. Can you like calculate this thing for me? I don't know if I can do it. I probably no. Listen, I got the wiki concepts in my brain. That's about it. So if I started telling you like I've solved or I can break something in quantum mechanics, but I can't even work through fundamental problems, you should be highly suspicious of my my credentials there. But
is still until acted upon. They get that everything is in motion, and that concert of motion is a necessity. They have to include all the other forces involved in order to have equanimity in their equations.
And so how, in a practical sense, does this affect mathematics?
Well, once we let go of Cartesian space and the 90-degree angles, well, picture this. Let's take another...
Like, why does he know so many random fucking terms? What was your process for researching fashion? What resources do you find useful? I just look at the models when I order a piece of clothing. I see what other clothes they're wearing, and I see if they have a similar skin tone to me, and then I just order it, and then I put it on, and I see how it looks.
A practical place. Look at a computer chip. It has all of these 90-degree turns on it, typically, where they run the electricity. Can you imagine running at 186,624?
We're done. No more math. No more math here. We don't do any more math here.
Miles a second in one direction, and you hit a wall, and you've got to stop.
Are you watching this just to trigger all your physics and math fears? I don't know why we're watching now. Because people are screaming me to watch this over and over again, and I thought it was just going to be like an easy schizo ramble that we could debunk in 2 seconds. But it's a complicated, sophisticated schizo ramble. So now we're watching the whole thing, okay?
Bounce off of that wall, and then you pick up your speed, and you bounce off the next wall, and you bounce off the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. How much heat are you building up? How much friction is being built up from the interference in comparison to if it was just spherical?
Hi, when Candace Owens refers to Bolsheviks in her tweet, is she referring to Jews? I think so, but I don't know why. I don't have the World War II history to know why. But there's a reason why that's the case. In Germany, in Nazi Germany, they called it cultural Bolshevism, which I think had to do with the Bolshevik Revolution and the idea that somehow Jews were behind these things. But I don't know the trace back to why that explicitly refers to Jews, or if that I don't remember why. Google it, Wikipedia it. I don't have time to Wikipedia all things for you, okay? Lots of early Bolshevik leaders were Jewish. There you go.
Just going around. It would build up no heat, and if you allow it to be spiral, which my patent was talking about, that first patent was talking about, you're able to utilize all that energy so you don't need the cooling systems. You don't need all of this loss or entropy. None of that occurs when you go by universal standards. That's all they have to do is follow what the universe does. We have the contractive side, patented, ready and available. We have the expanded side, patented, worked out already, ready and available, and we've got the Constitution between the two of them.
But how does that affect?
I recently learned I got name checked by Terrence Howard on his recent appearance on Joe Rogan.
I reached out to Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was like, hey man, yeah, I'd love for you to come on my show, do my radio, do my TV thing. Would love that. I was like, yeah, but I've got something I want to introduce to you.
I got name checked because 8 years ago, he sent me a 36-page
8 years ago. Oh no, this guy's been crazy for a long time.
treatise.
And it was only 36 pages.
So this is Terrance Howard attempting to reinvent mathematics and physics. A little backstory there. I took initial interest in Terrance.
Convo ship has sailed, chat. It's over. Wait, what? Did I miss something in YouTube chat? What? He's got it.
Because my mother said to me, do you know Terrance Howard? I said, yeah, I know. You mean the actor? She said, yeah. Well, I heard him interviewed on NPR. On there, he said that like when he was a kid, he wanted to be like a scientist and study the universe. I said, well, that's cool. Okay, maybe we'll get him on Star Talk.
Somebody said his whole thesis is mistaking multiplication with addition and power with multiplication. So, okay, I don't think that's what's happening. I'm doing a lot of guesswork here, but if I had to guess what's happening in the minds of people like this, generally what's happening is we have an upper level assumption that every single part of like the universe is connected somehow. Okay, that's like the most important thing. Every part of the universe is connected. So then what they'll do is they'll dive into these topics and then they'll look at particular things and they try to see patterns in these topics or ways that they can mold them to make them applicable to the universe. And in the process of doing that, they will learn about some subjects, but then like bastardize the concepts or misapply them or misunderstand them in order to make it map on cleanly to whatever overall view of the universe. I think that's generally what's going on. So like, I say this to point out that I seriously doubt that Terrence Howard probably didn't start with a genuine, curious investigation into mathematical concepts. He probably started off with, generously, I'll say, a particular view of the universe that he wanted to affirm with mathematics. Ungenerously, I'd say a schizophrenic delusion that every single thing in the world is not only connected, but is expressed at every level of science. And then from there, he went digging into the individual concepts to try to see if he could make them or mold them into whatever overall view that he had. That's almost certainly, I think, what is happening would be what I would say. But okay.
We love talking to celebrities who have a soft geek underbelly. At the time, I didn't quite know how to get in touch with him, but we met at something called the Upfronts, which is where networks present their next season's TV shows.
I saw him at an event Upfront.
And then this came in my inbox. In this particular case, since I basically solicited it from him, I actually...
These are the moments that annoy me with Destiny. It feels like he just wants to have a special, unique level of dismissal as opposed to the common chatter's, well, he's dumb. Okay? These are the moments that annoy me, okay, with dipshit Neanderthal fucks like you, okay? Neanderthal fucks like you, okay? Everybody isn't wrong for the same reason, and everybody isn't wrong just because they're dumb, okay? That's a retarded way of dismissing somebody's point of view. When you listen to Terrence talk, he's clearly not an idiot. He's not stupid. If you think he's stupid, you're stupid. It's probably because you're a dumb fuck, okay? And you've read enough people saying he's stupid that you feel confident enough parroting the opinion without having any idea about any of the shit that he's talking about, right? So writing people off immediately is just stupid. It's problematic on a few ways. One, it's boring, okay? The analysis is crude, okay, and simplistic. So it's boring. And two, because oftentimes you're missing what's actually happening, okay? Terrence getting a problem wrong in a math test is not going to be the same type of wrong or dumb as a pre-calc student getting a problem wrong on a math test. The reasons why people are incorrect about things are generally more important than the reasons or than the actual things that they believe themselves. So no, to just say like, oh, he just wants a special reason for dismissing him. The guy is clearly special when you listen to him talk. It doesn't sound like, and if there are any math teachers or tutors or whatever the my audience, feel free to chirp up, although I would be shocked if anybody would disagree with me. Terrence Howard doesn't sound like a guy who started studying math and is getting a bunch of things incorrect. He sounds like a guy that started with a schizo delusion about the universe and is now searching other topics to affirm that delusional view. That's what it sounds like it's happening. I don't even think what I'm saying here is that controversial. There's not many leaps of logic that I'm taking to even get there. I think it's pretty straightforward in watching the way that he speaks and in looking at what he's talking about to arrive at that conclusion, okay?
Actually spent time reading every line of all 36 pages. And I commented. My comments are in red here. You see that? So I spent a lot of time on it. And I thought, out of respect for him, what I should do is give him my most informed critical analysis that I can. In my field, we call that a peer review. You come up with an idea, you present it either at a conference or you first write it up and you send it to your colleagues. It is their duty to alert you of things about your ideas that are either misguided or wrong, or there's the calculation that doesn't work out, or the law.
This was by definition a dismissal by calling Howard's whole premise a delusion. I wasn't trying to say that I'm not dismissing him. I am dismissing him. I was explaining why I was dismissing him. Not just because he's stupid, but because it sounds like he's delusional. There are other heuristics that I'm pulling in to dismiss him as well. For instance, anytime an unpublished author with no scientific or mathematical application is claiming that he's got a whole new paradigm that stands contrary to the entire established world, that should be a heuristic that is instantaneously making you hyper sus. Really? You've broken all of these models? You have no published work? You have no application to show you're correct? Everybody's standing against you? That's interesting, right? There are other heuristics here that I can bring in as well, but just listening to him speak, he sounds delusional. If you can't hear him speak and pick out that he sounds delusional, that should be a massive red flag for you that you can't pick out delusional sounding people. You probably listen to a lot of fucking lunatics like that, and you don't understand that you're listening to a delusional person. I don't know if I've got a special gift for pulling that out, or maybe more accurately, because I had, I guess, a decent high school education, I hear enough of these concepts that when people start to tie all of them together, it always makes me very sus. A very sussy thing to me for snake oil salesmen, for gurus, for schizophrenics, is whenever people have things that are tying way too much of life together, more often than not, the person is selling you bullshit or the person is crazy. That's almost always the case. Whenever somebody has the same theory that's explaining a mathematical concept, the way the pyramids were built, why we have depression, and why League of Legends is a rigged game and fixed 50 is true. Anytime somebody has one thing that ties every single thing in life together, and they're not even specialized in the area, they have no credentials, they have no application, then that should almost always be massive red flags to you. Okay. I'm not getting triggered anymore. Okay.
Logic doesn't comport. That's their job. Not all ideas will turn out to be correct. Most won't be. But to get to that point, you
seem to have a different definition of stupid than most of chat. Can you elaborate on it? I thought you've defined it before as an inability to take an... I don't know. I don't know, and I don't even know if I care to define it anymore. I don't know how to explain it. There are some people where I listen to the person, I don't think that Terrance Howard would ever read something and be like, I'm confused, or I can't understand this particular thing, or it's beyond me. I think he would have the ability to read it and integrate it to some extent, but he's integrating it incorrectly because he's insane, because he's crazy. But he's not stupid. When you listen to him speak, he's not an idiot, right? The fact that he can remember concepts that are this abstract, and then remember how to use them in a sentence, and then remember how to tie them together in a meaningful, even if incorrect way to other concepts, illustrates some level of sophisticated thought, some level of intelligence. Now, just because he's not applying them correctly doesn't make him stupid. A stupid person wouldn't even know how to pronounce these words, or a stupid person wouldn't even know how to use these words to sell bullshit. Okay. I'm just watching the rest of this.
To know things like, what has everyone else said about this same subject? Am I repeating someone else's work? Is this a new insight that no one else has had, but has foundations that are authentic or legitimate or objectively true? Am I making a false assumption? Am I making an assumption that someone else has already shown to be false? All of this goes on the frontier of science. Let me make it clear that I'm delighted when I see people with active minds trying to tackle the great unknowns in the universe. It's a beautiful thing that people want to participate on this frontier. What can happen is, if you're a fan of a subject, let's say, a hobbyist, let's call it, it's possible to know enough about that subject to think you're right, but not enough about that subject to know that you're wrong. And so there's this sort of valley in there, a valley of false confidence. This has been studied by others, and it's called the Dunning-Kruger.
So Neil he's correct, but I don't think this is what happened to Terrance. But if you think it's what happened to Terrance, that's fine. But I know this isn't what happened to Terrance. I know that. Okay, I am delusional. I am psychotic, and I have a fixed belief that will never change. This is not what happened to Terrance. But we'll see what he says.
Effect. It's the phenomenon where a little bit of knowledge, you over-assess how much of that subject you actually know. And then when you learn even more, you realize, no, I didn't know as much as I thought I did. So then there's a sort of a lull there. And then when you learn even more, you come back up. Ultimately, learning enough to know whether you were right or wrong. To become an expert means you spend all this time. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't just sit in an armchair and say, I'm now an expert.
Why do people hate on Neil again? Because Neil is a tipper sometimes. He tips a little bit too hard in his random wandering thoughts. Yesterday, I crossed the border and I realized how goofy it was that a line on the map means anything. He just says shit like that. But he seems like a cool guy. He seems like a funny dude. I don't think there's ever been a scandal or anything like bad that's ever been released about him before. Sometimes he tips a little bit too hard. Isn't Neil probably just operating from a position of good faith? Neil is probably operating from a position where he's just evaluating what the guy's saying, right? Whereas my job as a political commentator and as a cultural critiquer, whatever bullshit is, I'm evaluating it on different levels than he is.
All this time, it doesn't happen overnight. You can't just sit in an armchair and say, I'm now an expert. It requires years and years of study, especially looking through journals where new ideas are published and contested. That's what we have learned is the most effective means of establishing that which is objectively true.
Neil was accused of sexual assault and hitting on employees several times. Okay, those two claims are so different. The fact that you would put them both in the same sentence is questionable. Wait, why would you even bring up the hitting on thing? Okay, somebody link me a wiki. During November, December 2018, accusations of sexual misconduct were made against Tyson by 4 women. Takia Ahmet Almat accused Tyson of drugging and raping her, while both were grad students at UT Austin in 1984. Jesus. Was there anything else that like came out relating to these? I don't have time to look into this. We have to do our other Discord AMA soon. I'm not gonna be able to finish this video.
Or determining that which is objectively false. Both of those work hand in hand to move the needle on our understanding of the universe. I'm gonna read you just my opening line here. It's titled 1 × 1 = 2. So I lead off by saying, this is an ambitious work that is a clear indication of a restless, active mind. Within these pages, however, there are many assumptions and statements that are underinformed, misinformed, or simply false, thereby compromising or nullifying many of the subsequent conclusions you have drawn. That's exactly what should happen in a peer review out of respect for one another's intellect.
Nice. That is a very nice intro statement. Also, to be clear, Neil deGrasse Tyson has a high level of formal education in, is it PhD in theoretical physics? Let me check real quick. Oh, is it astrophysics? I don't know if theoretical physics is even a thing you can have a PhD in, because I don't. I'm a college dropout retard. As an American astrophysicist, author, and science communicator, I believe he's published some papers as well, right? Has he not? Maybe he doesn't have any papers published. Sean Carroll does, okay. He's a cosmologist. Isn't that what the Russians call their astronauts? Or is that cosmonaut? What was his thesis on? Astronomy graduate programmer, earned a Master of Philosophy degree in astrophysics in 1989 and a PhD degree in astrophysics in 1991 under the supervision of Professor R. Michael Rich, training funding support, doctoral research, enabling us to hire students to help him with the data reduction. In the course of thesis work, he observed using the images of the Kalan-Tololo supernova survey, helping to further their work in establishing type law supernova as standard candles. Okay. He's done real work, is all I'm trying to say, okay?
It opens with a quote. from Terrence. It can never occur that the square root of a given number, when added to itself, is greater than the initial number squared, for that would expose a loose thread within the fabric of our understanding, a loose thread capable of unraveling the very ground rules of mathematics.
Who is Howard? It could never occur that the square root of a given number, when added to itself, is greater than the initial number squared. Why? I've never heard this before, but I might be fucking retarded. Oh, that's him. Oh, Terrance Howard. Oh.
That's a bold statement. So then I just say, this opening thesis is false. There are plenty of examples of this that have...
He quoted himself. Hello, based police. Can we get the based police out here?
...escaped your attention. His statement is shown to be false for every number that's less than 1 and greater than 0. For example, the square root of 0.64 is 0.8. 0.8 is bigger than 0.64, and it's a larger number than the original. And 0.64 squared equals 0.4096, a smaller number than the original, to the extent that the next 35 pages depends on your stated thesis.
Isn't assigning their efforts to Dunning-Kruger better than assuming they're delusional? Not that these are mutually exclusive, but one of these is not assuming an immutable mental state. I don't know how to explain this to you, and I don't even care now, because now chat's triggering me too much. When somebody has put in a good faith effort to research a particular topic, and they're wrong on things, you can tell, versus when somebody has come at a topic with a particular conclusion in mind, and then done research and give you their conclusions. You can always tell the difference between these two types of people if you're educated in the field that they're trying to claim like they have some knowledge in. You can always tell the difference. Yeah, you either believe me or don't, I don't give a fuck, but you can always tell the difference. Wet Shadow, thank you for gifting 10 subs.
This fact undermines your claims and assumptions and conclusions. It's not about feelings here. It's about objective reality. So at the time, I considered Terrence a strong acquaintance. Then we hung out a bit and had much exchange. We haven't spoken much since then. But go to page 2, and in here, he mentions people who he declares were persecuted because their vision exceeded the myopic view of their contemporaries. And he mentions Walter Russell, Nikola Tesla, John Keeley, and many, many more.
There's got to be like a formal name for the fallacy of science is a liar sometimes, that they do in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. When somebody says like, I think that the world is flat, and it's like, okay, well, that's probably not true, and you're probably retarded. And they're like, people said the exact same thing, when they theorized that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe, and if these other people were persecuted, then maybe you're just persecuting me. Where you say like, because some people were paradigm shifters, or because some people were accused of being incorrect and they ended up being correct, that can be you. There has to be like a name for, there should be like a name for that fallacy. I don't know what it is, but it must be.
Regarding your list of people who have made brave sacrifices, I note that to be a genius is to be misunderstood, but to be misunderstood is not to be a genius.
Oh, true. Wow. Look at that. He did that in one sentence. Yeah, that's what I'm basically talking about. Yeah.
The work of Walter Russell, has eluded any experimental support, and the work of Keeley is generally not reproducible. Science is about reproducibility. I can have the most brilliant, crazy, fun idea ever, and if I perform an experiment and no one else can duplicate that experiment, it belongs in the trash heap. It's me in my own world, thinking I have landed on an objective truth, when in fact I haven't. That's how science works, the reproducibility of results. As for the work of Tesla, much of it had very real value to physics and our understanding of electromagnetism. And that value is duly recognized by my community in the naming of a unit of electromagnetism after him. You can't get more badass than having a unit named after you. Newton has a unit named after him. For example, the metric unit of force is a Newton. Much of the rest of his work was fringe and unrealized, either for violating known laws of physics or for being simply impractical. Just because you do some good stuff doesn't mean everything you ever did is going to be great.
The epic Reddit Tesla meme where he invented literally every single possible thing relating to physics, and Edison was just a retard that stole every single possible thing. It's like the ultimate Redditization. There needs to be a name for that. When you Reddit tier something, it happened with that dog shit Oppenheimer movie and the setting the atmosphere on fire too. The Redditization of particular figures in history is unacceptable.
Further affirm that just because an idea sounds crazy doesn't make it wrong. The system of research and publications in peer-reviewed journals has the capacity to spot crazy but true ideas, provided they're supporting by compelling arguments.
Somebody said, at Destiny, they laughed at Columbus, they laughed at Fulton, they laughed at the Wright brothers, but they also laughed at Bozo the Clown. Carl Sagan.
and ultimately supported by experiments and observations. Newton's laws, Einstein's relativity, quantum physics were all revolutionary ideas that appeared in peer-reviewed settings or journals. Meanwhile, most of the work of Russell and Keeley had no such success with their ideas. So I think on Rogan, Terrence said that I trashed those three researchers.
Attack that I talked about Walter Russell and Victor Schauberger and John Keeley and Tesla as the people that I looked up to. So he threw shit on he was like, well, Tesla stuff worked, but Tesla was never really respected and out there.
When I'm just simply stating the fact, I don't think of that as trashing. I think of that as being honest. I mean, I could have softened it, but I don't think that's what people who care about you should do. People who care.
Wait, did I miss something? Because, wait, I'm sorry, because I'm trying to read chat. What I've read so far in this paper was absolutely not trashing. I don't know if Neil has like a lot of formal credentials in terms of teaching, but the way that he phrased this in the paper was probably like one of the best ways that a teacher can give pushback to a student. Starting from a position of like, I think it's really cool that you're trying to like push in this area in a new way, and that's awesome. You've made a few mistakes though, and it's messing up the rest of your ideas here. Let me point that out. That's like the best way of giving feedback to a curious student, like a way to correct them without stifling or extinguishing any genuine curiosity or desire they have in the field. It was in the past, not from the paper. Oh, okay. But maybe Neil might have said ruder things on shows that I missed.
Such success with their ideas. So I think on Rogan, Terrence said that I trashed those three researchers.
Attack that I talked about Walter Russell and Victor Schauberger and John Keeley and Tesla as the people that I looked up to. So he threw shit on he was like, well, Tesla stuff worked, but Tesla was never really respected and out there.
When I'm just simply
his lack of understanding there, that should give you insight into his mind, right? The lack of understanding there is troubling, because when assuming Neil's not showing us something different than what he said before, what he said there was undoubtedly true, right? Yeah.
Stating the fact. I don't think of that as trashing. I think of that as being honest. I mean, I could have softened it, but I don't think that's what people who care about you should do. People who care will be honest with you about ideas, about thoughts. The world is changing so quickly, and so is everything around us. Unfortunately, we have chosen to remain handcuffed to antiquated and obsolete beliefs. We have put in...
Really, the fact that Neil responded at all should be like an incredibly huge compliment. Like if I were to write some bullshit and I would get a response from a guy like Neil deGrasse Tyson, even if he tore me apart, I would still be honored. I'd be like, oh, thanks, the fact that you even responded to me, I'm grateful.
Enormous amount of faith into the methods and practices of old that are as dead today as the men who propagated the notion that the world was flat. So I say here, regarding your world was flat reference, it's not widely appreciated that the idea of a flat earth predates the introduction and development of the methods and tools of science as we practice them today. Those processes date back to around 1600, coincident with the invention of the microscope and telescope. Before then, truths were whatever seemed right to the senses. Afterwards, and to this day, truth was whatever the verified data obtained by your instruments forced you to believe if your senses otherwise contradicted the data. This fact means that there's no such misunderstanding on the scale of the flat earth in the era of modern science. Obtained by your...
Okay, I don't want to fight. I'm not going to fight with this. We're getting into philosophy of science stuff. The idea that from the year 1600 and onwards, we were epistemically solid in how we practice science, that now we actually have the divine methods of truth and truth seeking, and then prior to 1600 we didn't. I'll just assume that I don't like this. Before the year 1600, truths were whatever seemed right to the senses. I don't believe that was true. I think way back, like the Greeks and people were measuring things like in the sky and doing like complicated mathematical equations to make... I wish I had more examples of this. Who was the guy that like predicted... Weren't there like, was it Galileo? Weren't there really high levels of accuracy of predictions of like where the planets would be in the sky before there were even telescopes? Before anything? There were surprisingly accurate predictions for, I want to say even like curvature of the Earth. Euclid, maybe? Yeah, people were sophisticated before the year 1600. In my opinion, one of the big mistakes that people make with children and with old people, like people from hundreds or thousands of years prior, is we assume they're like fundamentally different than us. And they're not. I think more or less we've been the same for at least 10,000 years. But the Maya could predict eclipses, and they were in the Stone Age. Maya had arithmetically correct predictions, but had no theory for planet and other astral movements. Yeah, but it's a minor thing. Okay.
Instruments forced you to believe if your senses otherwise contradicted the data. This fact means that there's no such misunderstanding on the scale of the flat earth in the era of modern science. And in multiple places throughout the treatise, He's attaching a number to a physical idea or a physical object. That idea goes way back, by the way. Go back to Pythagoras, famous for the Pythagorean theorem, which we all learned in 8th grade, was it, or 9th grade? Pythagoras was also a philosopher.
Oh, okay, so he is going back. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Tried to understand how things worked. He felt, among others in his group, that if you assign a number to something, the number can imbue that object with certain meaning and significance, which means that if you manipulate the numbers, that you gain insight into the objects themselves once you've assigned a number to it. There's a lot of that permeates this document, but it's a long disproven approach to the world. Again, there's nothing wrong with a failed idea. Now other people know to not do it. Right? That has value. If we place a candle in front of a mirror, the measurement of light is doubled, is it not? It does.
Galileo was born in 1564. Bro, is that true? There's this whole period of history between like the year like 0 and 1600 that it all exists as a giant blur to me. I'm going to be honest. I have no concept. If you told me Galileo was born in the year 300, I would believe you. I have no idea. I don't know any, like, would you call it ancient European history? He was born in 1564. Okay, just ignore everything I say, I guess. When was like Copernicus born? 1400s. Okay. Yeah, it's called the Dark Ages. True, because I don't have knowledge of it.
Does not measure as only one light source. We actually see two lights. A light meter will show twice the intensity of light. This is false. A one light source. We actually have a mirror. The measurement of light is doubled, is it not? It does.
If we place a candle in front of a mirror, the measurement of light is doubled, is it not? It does not measure as only one light source. We actually see two lights. Well, that's just because there's like a reflection, a perfect reflection. But like you also see reflections when anything lights up at all. That's a reflection of anything, right?
Does not measure as only one light source. We actually see two lights. A light meter will show twice the intensity of light. This
Wait, what?
is false.
He attacked it so with such vitriol.
Maybe that's too blunt. What else should I say? I'm a scientist. That's what I would tell a colleague. A colleague who then say, thank you, and then we go out for beer after, because that's how that works. And there's an old saying, I first heard it from Michael Dell of Dell Technologies. If one day you find yourself the smartest person in the room, change rooms.
True.
I say this is false. The light in the mirror appears dimmer than the source of light itself, for several reasons. Starting with the fact that no mirror is 100% reflective. But more importantly, the candle in the mirror is always farther away from you than the candle itself. So the light meter will always read less than twice the actual value of the candle itself. I will note that from this work, Terrance produces art, sculptural art, which I find to be intriguing, even beautiful. To me, more intriguing than beautiful, because
anytime, listen, this is a personal heuristic I've developed. You know, you can believe it or not. Anytime somebody ever starts talking about like fractals or golden ratio or anything like that, I think that's also like a highly sussy shit might be weird whenever people get into that. Just as a... It's kind of like when you're reading like anything relating to medicine, anytime somebody says like vitamin C or vitamin D or like super doses of vitamin C or vitamin D, anytime somebody says that, it's always like highly sussy that you're about to hear some stupid shit every single time. Sacred geometry is a big one. Yeah. Okay, let me use the restroom real quick. I'll play this and I'm gonna, fuck, I don't want to miss this though. That's fair pushback from Neil, but isn't the point he is making is that the mirror is increasing the light by more than the original source? No, it's not. The light is not being increased, right? It's just not as much as being, well, in the form of a mirror, almost nothing is being absorbed by the thing itself. So there are other measurements that you could take of the thing to see where the light is going. A physical object might be absorbing it in the form of heat or other types of absorptions, whereas a mirror is going to be reflecting more of this back out into the environment. But nothing is being duplicated. No energy is being created. Like conservation is I don't want to say obvious, but it's still like being observed in all manner of whether you're pointing a candle at a mirror or not. Hold on one second.
You got to look at it and you keep looking at it. What is that? And what's going on there? I just want to read you my ending comments here. I could not follow the reasoning on these last few pages, but the illustrations that derive from them are beautiful, regardless of how they were derived. My notes have been strongly critical of your reasoning and conclusions. I was candid and blunt, out of respect for the energy you have clearly invested.
This is so kind. Like, this is such a nice critique
in this work. But if you're sure that you are still right and that I have completely misunderstood your thesis, then you will need to look for another person to evaluate what you have done and solicit their comments. In any case, like I say above, the images and illustrations in your final pages are beautiful works of art, unlike any I have seen. Best to you, Neil. So, in case people wanted to know what actually went down 8 years ago, just always be cautious of the Dunning-Kruger effect. You put in a little bit of work and you have an idea, and then you think your idea is right, and that Einstein is wrong, and Newton is wrong, and that everybody's wrong, and that all of modern astrophysicists are wrong. That's bold. That's bold. Audacious. Bodacious. When continental drift was proposed, it was like, what? Land masses are moving on Earth's surface? That's a
Hello?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't find this chat. I see it way at the bottom. Hi.
That's okay.
weird idea. That's going to be a hard sell. We think there's sort of upswelling of the, yes, locally, but whole continents, that's crazy. It would take a few decades until ultimately, when we're mapping the bottom of the ocean, we find that there's a mid-Atlantic ridge, that the ridges are separating. It's like bada bing. So the resistance to jumping on the idea that continents move was not because people were stubborn. It was because people are cautious. Any new idea needs to be put through the ringer. That's how science works. You put it through the ringer, every possible test you can, not just because it happens to look like South America fits with Africa. Any better evidence than that? Oh, wait a minute, fossils matched between the west coast of South America and the east coast of Africa. Not recent fossils, fossils from millions of years ago. That's interesting. Things that make you go, that brought some more people over to the camp. You keep that up, and you reach a point where enough evidence is brought to bear on the question, and then you have a new emergent truth. But at the vibrant energy that goes on at conferences and the contest of ideas, that's how we roll. That's how it works. When Einstein came out with relativity, saying space-time curves, Al, what are you saying? What are you doing? Well, you can test it with a total solar eclipse. So the idea comes out in 1915, it's published in 1916, 1919. We measured light around the edge of during a total solar eclipse because you can't see the stars during the daytime. You see the light rays bent from their actual coordinate positions on the sky. Sir Arthur Eddington.
Am I just retarded? I see AMA with Destiny, event details, click. What do I join? AMA/debate spree with Destiny. How do I join this?
An astrophysicist, provided the first experimental evidence for Einstein's general theory of relativity, which, by the way, was published in a peer-reviewed journal. Crazy idea. The platform to be accepted for the ideas is not social media.
It's at the stage at the bottom.
Joe Rogan. It is not my podcast. It is research journals where attention can be given on a level that at the end of the day offers no higher respect for your energy and intellect than by declaring that what's in it is either right or wrong or worthy of publication or not. I wanted to post this to my website so you can see my comments mixed in with these trees.
Co-host today,
you got
Joker.
the sense of it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Neil deGrasse Tyson here. As always, keep looking up.
Oh, that was cute. I think the Joe Rogan sub is just like an anti-fan
person
sub,
speaking
basically,
here,
right? I don't understand why this nonsense ever spread so far or why anyone is taking it seriously, but if you need someone to say it's all nonsense, here we go, it's all nonsense. Yes, the periodic table has a lot of... Oh, he does more? Do periodic table next?
When you say rebuild the periodic table, what do you mean specifically?
Well, the way the periodic table is laid out, the periodic table they have now,
Let's see
it looks like a box. It looks like a straight box. But they don't show that hydrogen has the same tone as carbon.
What do you mean by tone?
Same tone. Same.
Oh, what's up?
Spoiling your dinner, I see.
Oh, shit. Thank you, sir.
It's my grandma's recipe.
Nice.
Same key of E. Same key of E. 40.5 hertz. The next one would be like 81 hertz as carbon.
What do you mean by tone?
Same tone. Same key of E. Same key of E. 40.5 hertz. The next one would be like 81 hertz. You go to silicon, it will double up and would be 162 hertz. You'll go to...
Oh, no. Now he's moving into an area that I have more information on. Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Carbon.
What do you mean by tone?
Same tone. Same key of E.
Hi. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Wow, dog. You won't touch her. Wow, they said hi.
Bye.
Be careful, don't die.
Same key of E. 40.5 hertz.
What tone even is this? Okay, it's an out of tune E, I guess. Okay.
The next one would be like 81 hertz. You go to silicon, it will double up and would be 162 hertz. You'll go to cobalt and it'll be 324 hertz. It's take the angles of incidence or the tones that they create, their color. Like you can turn color back into sound.
What is he talking about when he's talking about when you double the frequency, you're going up an octave? What is he how's he relating that to like silicone or any of that?
based upon it's the same wavelength, it's just twice as long or much longer. So all you have to do is keep dividing light by 2. You keep dividing light by 2, and you'll ultimately get back to...
Don't say you'll get back to sound. That's not how that works.
...the audible sound of it.
When you're talking about the frequency of electromagnetic radiation, you're talking about the peaks and valleys of the... Of what? Of what exactly? Is it like the excitations of a photon? I don't actually know. But for sound, it's just the difference in pressure in a particular medium. But I don't think frequencies of EM radiation is not pressure in a medium. You can't reduce like the frequency of light down to something that would be audible. No?
Because there was a relationship between light and color, sound and tone, matter and shape. Walter Russell's periodic table that he put together. Now you compare that to Mendeleev's periodic table, and you'll see something completely different. It's unwinding.
Whoa.
And you see there's a relationship that hydrogen...
So you had figured this out at a young age?
I had already seen this. This was all inside of that palace. I had...
The periodic table is arranged for a particular reason. It's not random. I don't know if... I don't know why this is arranged the way that it is, but... Also, if you want to schizo out, technically the periodic table of elements is like 3 dimensions too. But I don't know if it's even worth it to go into this. I don't want to get into a 12-hour conversation on
Mendeleev's periodic table, and you'll see something completely different. It's unwinding.
Whoa.
And you see there's a relationship that hydrogen...
So you had figured this out at a young age?
I had already seen this. This was all inside of that palace. I had access to it, and I knew the relationship.
So you saw this in dreams?
I saw it as a circle. Everything was a full circle laid out, and each area was just expanding, like wrapping a rag around your hand. The first wrap, it's so tight. This is how I saw it more so, but as a vortex. You'll see there's a relationship between hydrogen, carbon, silicon, cobalt, rhodium. They're all bonded. They're all sit as the middle point between two.
He's making connections using pattern matching of concepts, making sweeping claims, which I see a lot happen with hobbyists in math. People make a lot of these superficial connections. I think these have more to do with his schizophrenia than his hobbyism. But
noble gases. So those things don't really exist. It's only one substance. Now the problem is the first thing that we're able to perceive is hydrogen. That's the first visible element, because before it is too dense for us to perceive it. You understand what I'm saying? As you reach into the...
I don't understand what he's saying.
Next octave, the carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone, because the carbon has 2 tones to it. It has a negative side and a positive side. The part where lithium behaves, lithium is contractive, beryllium is contractive, boron is contractive, but the moment you get to carbon, you balance it out. Gets to a perfect balance of plus and minus 4. So it's a double tone. Nitrogen is -3, oxygen is -2, fluorine is -1. Now the balance of this, all of those are mates. Fluorine and lithium naturally mate. If you have lithium bonded with any other element, the moment that fluorine is introduced, it will break all bonds violently so it can bond with fluorine. Same thing with beryllium and oxygen. That's why it said, and what they've tried to keep from us, if you want to break water into its component parts of hydrogen and oxygen, all you have to do is introduce beryllium or the sound of beryllium, and oxygen will violently break away from any other thing, even hydrogen, to bond with that beryllium.
Okay. I don't know if it's worth even... Periodic table has a lot of periodic structures. These come from the electron shells filling up. There's some beautiful maths behind that indeed, but no, that doesn't mean they have audible frequencies, and yes, physicists understand where these structures come from. Yes, atoms have emission lines at certain frequencies of light, not sound, but not one particular line, is an entire set of them. The heavier the element, the more frequencies. It's where the colors of the aurora come from, among other things. Sound, on the other hand, It's a phenomenon that occurs in large collections of atoms, in gases, liquids, or solids. It comes from the coordinated motion of the atoms. Light is electromagnetic radiation. It can have any wavelength. Visible light has wavelengths in the range of 400 to 700 nanometers. A nanometer is a billionth of a meter. Audible sound has wavelengths in the range of millimeters to meters. Just for reference, the 440 hertz high A, aka the dial tone, has a wavelength of about 0.8 meters. I guess it's something like 2 feet. Bottom frequencies of human voice kind of fit into a shower cabin, which is why singing in the shower creates a lot of resonance. Kind of true. Now I'm wondering how many people still know what a dial tone was.
When you say
Okay, I don't want to. Okay.
Today I want to talk about a peculiar case of, let me call it, amateur physics that's recently attracted a lot of public attention. It's some ideas put forward by Terrence Howard, an American actor who has his own theory of everything that he thinks improves physics. Now, there are thousands of people with theories of something that aren't good for anything, and normally I don't talk about that. I make an exception in this case because Joe Rogan spread these ideas on his podcast, and a lot of people seem to think that physicists must pay attention to actors who want to improve physics. Well, I'm happy to help. So let's have a look. I don't have time to listen to 3-hour podcasts, and if I did, I sure as hell would.
Are these some of these where it says unofficially named? These are just fake elements, right? Luminon? Am I retarded? Bebigen? These aren't real, are they? Are these named anywhere else? Omeganon? Is that a thing? Okay.
Wouldn't listen to some actor go on about his theory of everything, but I saw that he has a book of sorts, and I like books. So I had a look at this, and I'm now at least as qualified to comment on his ideas as he is to comment on modern physics. Terrance Howard's key fundamental insight, the basis of his new theory of everything, is that 1 times 1 equals 2. Just in case you had any doubts about it, 1 times 1 equals 1. That's not a matter of opinion. It's not even a matter of science. It's a matter of definition. The mathematical operation that we call multiplication and the number that we call 1 are defined so that any number multiplied by 1 gives the same number. Consequently, 1 times 1 equals 1. We define multiplication this way just because it's useful. You see, if you have only addition and I give you 7 apples, you'd have to go 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 7. The operation of multiplication is a way to simplify this long sequence of addition. We introduce a new symbol, call that times, and write 7 times 1. It means the same thing. Howard goes on to write, in order to multiply something by something else, they must be dimensionally equal. This is not correct. If you multiply one quantity that has units with another quantity that has units, you multiply the units. If I multiply, say, time measured in seconds with a speed in meters per second, I get a length in meters. This is the case for any quantity, but a lot of things that you can mathematically multiply don't serve any purpose, so we don't multiply them. I could, for example, multiply 18 chopsticks with a magnetic field of 2 Tesla. That would give me 36 chopstick Tesla, but just because that mathematically exists doesn't mean it makes any physical sense. But Howard's confusion about multiplication goes so far that he thinks if you multiply a penny with a penny, then, according to the current rules of mathematics and multiplication, that gives you 1 penny. This is not correct. It would give you a penny squared, which isn't a physical thing. But now he has an entire conspiracy theory about how Bank of America miscalculates your pennies.
Wait, is that true? Or did she just make this up as a joke?
Oh dear. Okay, so he doesn't understand either multiplication or units.
Bank of America penny squared. Somebody said it's in his book? She read his book. Oh, okay. Okay, I guess he doesn't talk about it.
Which, let me just say, is a bad start for revolutionizing physics. But how does he get from there to rewriting the laws of nature? Well, as I read on, it became apparent that Howard
176 views.
You ever wondered what happens when you multiply a penny by another penny? Dive into this intriguing mathematical concept. Today, let's unpack the curious case of multiplying pennies. At first glance, exist with and multiply a penny. Mathematics.
This is my bad. I clicked a Rage Pope link. I don't know what I was expecting. Aside from it to be the first thing that he fucking Googled and decided to throw it in chat to seem like he had an answer for what we were talking about. My bad. I don't want to get that deep into this. We're watching this and then we're done with this. Case closed, okay? Jesus.
Fuses mathematical relations with natural laws. Yes, in physics we formulate the laws of nature in form of mathematical relations, but that doesn't mean any mathematical relation is a law of nature. Since he thinks that something is wrong with 1 times 1 equals 1, and he thinks that multiplication is a law of nature, he now thinks that physics is wrong. He explains the laws of conservation of energy might as well pack up and move away, because how can a something multiplied by nothing cause the something to disappear? Remember, energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Jesus.
That's why there is no law of nature that just multiplies energy by 0. A few pages later, he has concluded that all visible things are composed of the properties of light. This is what the equation E equals mc squared is ultimately illustrating, that energy equals mass times the velocity of light squared. All things are light. Unfortunately, this is not correct. This equation doesn't apply to light. You see, the full equation is actually E equals the square root of m squared, c to the 4th, plus the square of the momentum times the second power of the speed of light. If the object you're looking at doesn't move, then the velocity is 0, so the momentum vanishes. That gives you E equals mc squared. But light moves, well, at the speed of light, so the momentum can't vanish. Instead, for light, it's the mass that's 0, so you get E equals p times c. And no, all things cannot be light, most trivially, because light has no electric charge. On page 102, he then begins a crash course into particle physics and quantum mechanics. That sounds promising, so let's have a look. It's an elaboration based on a lecture about quantum field theory by David Tong, who I'm sure is thrilled to be cited in this groundbreaking work. David is quoted as saying that the idea that the world is made of particles is strictly speaking a lie, because quantum fields are the real building blocks of the universe. Howard seems to think that this is somewhat of a revelation, that the world is made of quantum fields and not of particles. But
wow, Terrance, thanks for $20. It was a chicken pot pie.
What can I say? Yes, the standard model of particle physics, which is half a century old, is a quantum field theory. It is, despite its name, not a theory of particles, but of quantum fields. A quantum field, loosely speaking, tells you how many particles of what type are in which place. So even if there's no particle in one place, there's still the field there that tells you that no particle is there. Howard seems to think there's something wrong with it, because Tong correctly says that the equations can be extremely difficult to solve. So then Howard introduces his new theory, which is that the third power of 1 is the absolute value of pi. And this is the neutral condition of all visible matter. The rest of the book is basically pictures. He does not make a calculation for any measurement result, but complains that, quote, "That's one of the biggest problems in the field of science and mathematics. It goes beyond the fact that it's outrageously cliquish. It's as if they never truly left high school and the silly games of unconscious..."
Is that the right form of click? Do you spell cliquish that way? Is that even a real word?
Children pretending to be important adults. In truth, they are just afraid to explore new ideas, end quote. In summary, we have a man who wouldn't pass a primary school maths exam, who thinks that lumping together words and images will revolutionize physics. A man who has zero respect for thousands of years of hard-working mathematicians and scientists whose efforts made it possible that you can see him on a screen and listen to him through a most excellent microphone. A man who belittles generations of physicists who have spent their life to figure out what matter is made of and how electromagnetic radiation propagates and how the universe expands. Achievements that Terrance Howard thinks he can improve on by drawing a few lines and squaring pennies. Now look, some people have told me that Terrance Howard has a mental health issue, or maybe he's been doing too many drugs, or both. I don't know if that's correct, and I don't want to speculate about it. I don't blame him. If you can make it through school with that significant deficits in basic education, then that's a problem with the educational system. No, I blame Joe Rogan, because Rogan isn't stupid. He believes that his audience is stupid. He believes that his audience is so stupid to think they'll lap up any nonsense he throws at them. Is Rogan right? Well, he certainly knows how to multiply his pennies. To me, science is more than a profession. It's a
Why would that not be your ending line? That should have been the last line for the video.
way to understand the world and to solve problems. This is why I'm happy to work together with Brilliant, whose mission is to help you learn science in the easiest and most engaging way possible. All courses on Brilliant have interactive visualizations and come with follow-up questions. I found it to be very effective to learn something new. It really gives you a feeling for what's going on and helps you build general problem-solving skills. They cover a large variety of topics in science, computer science and maths, from general scientific thinking to dedicated courses on differential equations or large language models. And they're adding new courses each month. It's a fast and easy way to learn, and you can do it whenever and wherever you have the time. Sounds good? I hope it does. You can try Brilliant yourself for free if you use my link brilliant.org/Sabine. That way you'll get to try out everything Brilliant has to offer for full 30 days. And you'll get 20% off the annual premium subscription. So go and give it a try. I'm sure you won't regret it. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
Wow. Now that's what I call a cool fucking story, bro.